Let's talk about Riley B. King, the king of the blues, B.B. King. Yesterday was his birthday, and he's just the greatest of all time. I named my son after him right here, Riley B. King. Riley B. Smith is my son, named after the great Riley B. King. Anyways, he's had an enormous impact on my life. I was fortunate to get to spend some time with him. Never played with him, but I opened for him a number of times. I just thought we'd take some time to celebrate the king of the blues and, the greatest of them all. Anyways, here's my BB story. Um, I grew up in a household where music was on every day, all the time. My father and my mother had a giant record collection, vinyl, and BB King was on all the time. I'd hear "Thrill Is Gone" or "You Upset Me, Baby" or "Blind Love" or all sorts of stuff. Mean Old Frisco. That was one that stuck with me as a kid all the time. And man, this guy was just the greatest there was. Please accept my love. Woo, don't answer the door. I can go on and on forever and ever. But when I heard Live at the Regal and also Blues is King, two live albums from the same era, that was like, oh my God. The singing, the playing, the band, the professionalism, the heart, the soul, nothing has ever compared. So anyways, I saw BB a lot as a kid, and then when I started gigging, I was fortunate enough to kind of, gain a following in South Florida where I grew up. And so the promoter who would bring B.B. King to South Florida and to Florida in general every year asked if me and my band would open up for him on the run, the Florida run. So I did this for 2 years in a row, and I got to observe the man from afar. And, it was such an eye-opening experience and just an honor to be in his presence. But he influenced me in so many ways that weren't even musical. He was the kindest gentleman I'd ever seen. He had bad diabetes, and sometimes he wouldn't be feeling good, but he would stay after the gig for hours to shake everybody's hand, to sign every autograph. He was incredibly kind to me. He would always say something about the opening band from the stage and how great they sounded. I don't know if he ever actually heard us. His band was all incredibly kind. His manager, Sid, back then, his son was the road manager. They were all so nice. Man. Yeah, just Caleb Emfrey on drum. That band, the old, the 80s BB band, 80s and early 90s BB band. Anyways, he was just, a model of how to be as a professional and as a human being. And then he got out there, of course, and just did his thing. And it was so inspiring, and no one will ever sound like that. BB changed the game. In the same way that T-Bone Walker and Django and Lonnie Johnson did for BB, when BB came in, everything after BB changed. If you listen to early Otis Rush, Albert King, even the way Bobby Bland sang initially, they just wanted to be BB King. He was the biggest rock star in that world. And then eventually they, of course, found their voices and became legends in their own right. But BB was like this giant knocking down of a wall that opened up the way for what we now consider the modern day frontman and blues singer. And guitar player, and just the greatest of all time, man. BB. Whew. So let's talk about the music. Where do you start? It was just so special. But I guess you start with Lucille, right? So I got my most Lucille ish guitar that I own out, which is my Josh Williams Mockingbird. And, BB sounded like himself on anything. He played Lucille, of course, forever, 335 style guitar with a Veritone 345. But he played ES5s, he played 175s, he played a Tele, he played a Strat, he played a 330. He played a lot of guitars, and he always sounded like B.B. King. He played a lot of amps. Later on, he switched to the Lab Series L5 amp. Solid state, still sounded like B.B., maybe just a little cleaner. But it was all in here, in his heart, and his soul, and in his hands. What's the first thing you think of with B.B. King? Well, you think of the vibrato, you think of saying less with more, you think of the bends, and you think of the B.B. box, right? Which is what? Well, the B.B. box is the third position pentatonics. So if we're in B flat, that's the first position. Second position, right? Which is more the Albert King box. Third position, that's the B.B. box. You can't help but sound like B.B. King when you're in this box. Now, B.B. could live here. He would play that rake all the time in between phrases. Right? Man, that little double stop. Unbelievable. It was like he was talking. It was a conversation. He would throw that in like a punctuation. Unreal. And then those bends. Unreal. And then he would sometimes have this way of ending licks in a way that other people just don't. Those little things. And then, of course, the stabs. Also, we would play those little down slurs. We played that a lot. That little jump in octave. That's the beginning of Thrill's Gone. But what's the common factor there? It's the feel. It's the vibrato. It's the conversational style to his playing. Just no one ever like him, and no one since. I mean, he was truly the greatest. Let's talk about the way he starts those slow blueses. Come on, man. Every time I hear, woo, right here, right in the heart, punch to the gut, just magical. What about BB over a shuffle, man? His time feel, oof, 2, 1, 2. Had such a swing, such a pocket, and that vibrato, right? I can't do it like him, man. I got big hands, but not like that. And mine's more up and down. He had a little more side. That's as close as I can get. Man was just a giant in all respects. I don't think it can be understated or oversold. He was the best. He set the bar way up there, and my life has changed along with millions and millions and millions of others. So, B.B. King, man, you're my hero. You always will be. Rest in peace. Thank you for your kindness, for your music, for the inspiration. Love you always, Riley B. King. All right. There's a members-only addendum to the B.B. King. We're going to talk about some specific things over there. If you're not a member yet, join now and meet us over on the member channel.